Hey friends, welcome. January 1st, 2025. Imagine waking up today with a profound realization. Jesus Christ is physically walking among us. He's not a figure of the past confined to ancient history, but a living presence in our world, speaking, acting, and showing us how to navigate the challenges of our time. What would he do? How would he address the complexities of our modern lives? How would he interact with you and me? This year, we'll embark on a journey, imagining how Jesus might live each day in 2025. Now, this isn't just about storytelling. It's about learning from his example to transform our lives. Each day, we'll explore his actions, his words, and the lessons we can apply to our own walk of faith. So let's step into January 1st, a day of fresh starts, and ask, what would Jesus do on this New Year's Day? A day in the life of Jesus, January 1st, 2025. As the first rays of sunlight spill across the horizon, Jesus rises early. Perhaps he finds a quiet place, a park bench under a bare winter tree, or a silent church sanctuary. The hum of the world waking up surrounds him, but his focus is singular. He lifts his heart in prayer, seeking connection with his Father. Now, this is a consistent pattern in his life. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 1, verse 35, it says, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed." Today, his prayers might include the worries of modern humanity, climate change, wars, economic struggles, and personal anxieties that weigh heavily on us all. He prays not only for the solutions, but for the hearts of people to turn toward love, compassion, and truth. For us, before we dive into the busyness of the new year, we should take time for intentional prayer. Start the day and the year by seeking clarity, peace, and purpose, and ask yourself, what would God have me do today? Now, as the day begins, Jesus steps into the rhythm of life. He doesn't isolate himself from the world's noise. Instead, he hears it. Imagine him walking through a crowded urban plaza, pausing to talk with a street musician. He kneels to help a young mother struggling to carry groceries and calm her child. He buys coffee for someone experiencing homelessness and listens to their story without judgment or hurry. Now in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, Jesus met the Samaritan woman at a well, engaging her in a life-changing conversation despite cultural barriers. Today, he would seek out the overlooked and marginalized, not to preach at them, but to offer dignity, hope, and the assurance that they are seen and loved. He might also meet with those in positions of influence, business leaders, educators, or community organizers, urging them to use their power for good. Picture him saying, "What you do for the least of these, you do for me." And for us, we should ask, who around us needs to be seen today? Is there someone you can serve, even in a small way? Take a moment to offer kindness as Jesus would. Now, by midday, Jesus might gather people for teaching. Perhaps he sits on the steps of a public library or streams a live video online where millions tune in. His words are clear, compelling, and filled with timeless wisdom. He might talk about what it means to truly love one another in a divided world. He'd encourage forgiveness in a time of social media feuds and fractured relationships. He'd call for humility in an age of self-promotion, urging us to remember that greatness lies in service to others. His message would be practical and relevant. Blessed are the peacemakers, he'd remind us, addressing global conflicts and personal disputes alike. Do not store up treasures on earth, he'd say, cautioning against consumerism as we enter the year with financial goals. His teachings would challenge and inspire, leaving listeners both comforted and convicted. Now for us, we should take time to reflect on Jesus' teachings. What would he say to you personally as you begin this year? How can you live out his principles in your daily actions? Now, after teaching, Jesus would move to acts of healing. Imagine him visiting a hospital ward, laying his hands on patients battling cancer or COVID-19, offering not just physical healing, but deep emotional and spiritual peace. But his healing wouldn't stop there. Jesus would also visit a support group for those struggling with addiction, reminding them that they are not defined by their past. He'd sit with a teenager battling depression, holding space for their pain and gently reminding them of their worth. For Jesus, healing is holistic. It touches the body, mind, and soul. For us, is there someone in your life who needs healing? Whether through a kind word, a prayer, or practical help, consider how you can be an instrument of God's healing today. Now, as the day winds down, Jesus would gather with people for a meal. Imagine him at a long table in a community center, sharing food with those who might otherwise be alone on New Year's Day. Around him sit people from all walks of life: an elderly widow, a refugee family, a young professional seeking purpose, a recovering addict. And as they eat, he listens to their stories, laughs with them, and shares his own insights. He might tell the parable of the prodigal son, reminding everyone at the table that they are welcomed and loved by God, no matter where they've been. For Jesus, meals are sacred spaces where walls come down and community is built. In the Gospel of Luke, it was in the breaking of bread that his disciples recognized him. Today, he'd remind us that the table is a place where transformation begins. For us, who can you invite to your table this year? Whether it's a family member, a friend, or someone new, use meals as opportunities to build relationships and reflect on God's love. As the day draws to a close, Jesus would likely find another quiet moment to pray, reflecting on his day's work. But for us, the question remains: how can we walk through this year as if Jesus were by our side? What would it look like to live with his priorities, his love, and his courage? This is just the beginning of our journey, my friends. Tomorrow we'll imagine what Jesus might do on January 2nd, 2025, and continue learning how his presence can shape our lives one day at a time. So, as you step into this new year, remember, every moment is an opportunity to live as Jesus taught. Let's make 2025 a year of walking with him in faith, love, and hope. Join me again tomorrow, and together we'll explore the next step on this journey with Jesus. And before we part, I'd like to offer a prayer for the intentions, hopes, and needs that you currently hold in your heart. Are you ready? I'll lead. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. And that was beautiful. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll discuss what Jesus might do on January 2nd, 2025. Don't forget, hug your family. They love you. And I'll see you tomorrow, my friends. Take care. Bye-bye.